Sagittarius, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for July 11th through the 17th of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so Sagittarius, let's go and start with your ruler Jupiter, who isn't forming any major aspects this week, but still very close to the North Node. Still lots to learn about your life path, your life direction. Some of you tapping into that adventurous spirit, which is great with Jupiter in the 9th house. Some of you studying things like philosophy or astrology, spirituality, higher learning, university, anything that expands the mind, or even quite literally expanding, which is adventurous, right? So anyways, great time for that still, as it has been pretty much all year. And still lots to learn about, where you can, specifically learn about these more expansive views of life. Now, in terms of relationships, this is seen by Mercury, who rules that 7th house, and you just had that last new moon in the 7th house. So things are about, I think, integrating and working towards these relationship things, because we will be in the first quarter phase, which is about implementation and challenging ourselves there to take some action. So if anything new has started, whether it's perspective or an external thing with relationships this past week, I think it's great to implement that, challenge yourself there, and move that forward. In fact, it's still great to express yourself there in the relationship sphere. Great place for energy and prana through focusing on those interpersonal connections. Now, regarding Mercury specifically, though, in terms of that rulership, he does square up to Uranus here on Mondays. So if you are feeling a bit of the wanting to break through, break free kind of energy, maybe involving relationships, independence, individuality, whatever it is. I think taking it nice and slow there, one step at a time, because there's something to listen to. But it's about that slow and steady integration. And the things Uranus might be calling of you is about having more freedom in your personal life. Maybe it's with home or family, or maybe it's with your health or something like that. But yeah, breaking free, great, but one step at a time, take it nice and slow. And then as a result, could be feeling quite perhaps rejuvenated and maybe even quite healed in that relationship sphere this later part of the day there. All right, then Mercury is going to be conjoining up to Venus over the weekend, so maybe enjoying those one-to-one connections over the weekend particularly, which is Venus, right? The connectivity there, enjoying the simple things, the simple pleasures of life. And yeah, what you're going to find too is perhaps there's a bit more intimacy, a bit more openness this week in your relationships, or at least calling you to implement in your relationships. That's going to be Mercury going into that 8th house. All right, so that's that sector. In terms of work, this is seen by both Mercury and Venus, who rule your 10th house and your 6th house, respectively. And so these planets are big players. Again, Mercury scoring up to Uranus if you are feeling like that breaking free energy, taking it nice and slow there with the career stuff. Something to listen to, though, with maybe balancing that with your home and family life. And then maybe even feeling healed as a result. And then over the weekend, that conjunction, maybe some new relationships forming up with your work, maybe some new values changing with your work. Some of you, too, over the weekend could be thinking about that, maybe some new insights that can certainly be implemented in that regards. In many ways, this is like a new moon, these conjunctions, and they're involving both of your career planets. All right, so that takes us to the finances, which is Saturn, who rules that 2nd house of yours. Saturn is not forming any major aspects this week, but again, Saturn in that 12th house. Maybe for some of you, there's uncertainty. There's this importance of going with the flow here in the financial side of things, and trust and faith and all that good stuff, and just kind of working behind the scenes here, detaching. And this is what Saturn's been showing you, is how to establish your true spiritual development, which is perhaps understanding more about yourself psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, and taking whatever actions, building whatever foundations are needed in your life so you can have more of this spiritual transcendence, peace, and tranquility in your life. All right, so that takes us to the overview. I think we've pretty much covered it. One planet we did not talk about is the Sun, who is over the weekend going to be a part, actually it was Mars too. There's going to be a grand trine this weekend, and this is Mars with Chiron and that Sun in your 7th house. So first of all, Mars is direct. He's been retrograde these past few months up until recently. He's now gaining his momentum, and so things that do have to do with right now your aspirations, and for some of you maybe group things or organizational things, that's all starting to move forward. Maybe there's a new motivation here, which is great to be implementing, and you can find a lot of that quite healing This could actually be very supportive for your spiritual side because Mars does rule that 12th house, in fact. So, an excellent week for spirituality. In fact, you could find all that quite healing, I think, in some sense. And likewise, again, very supportive for those relationships. You could find maybe a bit of that independence, directness, and healthy amount of assertiveness or whatever in those relationships. That could be something that could support you there. All right, so that's the grand trine. Now, the sun is going to be squaring up to Uranus here over the weekend. So again, just like the early part of the week, here specifically though, if you are feeling like breaking through, breaking free in regards to your ideas, in regards to philosophy or travel stuff, because the sun does rule that 9th house of yours, it's about taking it, again, nice and slow. And again, with relationships, taking that nice and slow also. All right, so Sagittarius, have an excellent week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week.